All right, so welcome everyone to our second reading of The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama, Overcoming in Uncertain Times. This is her latest book from Random House, which has had a lot of positive feedback. This book came out in 2022 with a lot of fanfare, and it's still doing very well in the bookstores. So last time we ended, we were talking about Michelle's book, and the last chapter was Am I Seen, where she was speaking of that. So we're going to pick up with our next chapter this evening. But before we go there were a couple of quotes that I wanted to go over from Michelle's book. She said in The Light We Carry, we become bolder in brightness. I think that really says a lot. What does it mean to you to become bolder in brightness?
We get older and maybe a little bit more wise. And so we know a few things about ourselves and maybe gain confidence as well as we get older doing other kinds of things. So to me, it means for me, understanding myself better as I'm aging, but I'm doing well and gaining confidence. But then I also realize that I've always had it.
Yeah, just bring it out. I love that, Chris. Bolder in brightness. Tara, what does it mean to you? We become bolder in brightness.
I don't know. I did write down a lot of the quotes, but this one, you have to tell me what you were thinking. I can't think of what she means or what context this was.
Yeah.
I like Chris's answer.
I like Chris's too. My thought was when we are enlightened, because she says the light that we carry, so that light inside us, when that becomes brighter, when we're, like Chris was saying, actually, when we become more confident in what we have, what light we have within us, we're bolder and we're more able to speak up for ourselves and stand up for what we believe in. I've seen a shift in that recently in myself, that it's like, well, I'm going to speak up because I really don't agree with that. So I'm becoming bolder because I have confidence in myself that I can think for myself. I can have an opinion that's contrary. Well, I can disagree. So I'm becoming bolder as I'm becoming more self-assured and brighter in myself.
I think that's great too. I think that I was maybe reluctant to say what I thought because I was getting confused, but from what you and Chris said, bolder and brightness, maybe like back to what you both have said, brightness from within. Because I'm thinking, I'm thinking having a sunny day doesn't necessarily make me brighter, but if I can be optimistic despite trials and tribulations and challenges, then that brightness comes within. I'm not looking outside to get the boldness. I'm going within and my confidence level. And like you both said, the confidence growing in us being able to be bolder because we believe in ourselves.
I love that.
We're wiser. So yeah, that makes sense. You guys have helped me. Thank you.
Yeah. Wiser.
I love the quote.
Wiser.
Love the quote. Here's another one that I like, you guys. She said, each of us carries a bit of inner brightness, something entirely unique and individual, a flame that's worth protecting. Think about that one for a little while and see what that one might mean to you.
The first thing that I thought of was the eternal flame, President Kennedy. That's the first image that came to mind, because at Arlington Cemetery, when he was being buried and so forth, and the family came, that was something that, if I recall, Jackie Kennedy had read something in a book, because, she was an editor, a reader, and a spokesperson for a publishing company and so forth. She had read something about an eternal flame that someone had introduced. It was introduced in someone's literary writings of some kind, and to her the image was the eternal flame, that no matter the weather or the people or the event or what was happening, it would always glow and bring a special kind of not energy, but love or peace to somebody who sees this flame. So when I read this, a flame that's worth protecting. That's what I
Yeah.
thought of was the eternal flame.
Internal flame.
Yeah, right there with President Kennedy.
I love that.
That shows you what generation I'm from.
That's all right. I love what you just shared. I'm gonna look that up now. Thank you.
Okay.
I really am.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
the
I would
inner
agree.
brightness. Go ahead, Cookie. Tara, what do you think? I'm giving away your nickname. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, eternal flame, and I would connect that to you are enough, and
Mhm.
you got here on this earth as enough,
Yeah.
and that is worth protecting. That idea, that belief is worth protecting, and you must protect it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's lovely. I mean, given the circumstances that she had to go through for 8 years, the
Right.
level of ridicule and vitriol, hate, and
Yeah.
just you have to show, she has to show up thinking that her brightness was enough, that her life was enough, that her existence was enough. Otherwise,
Right.
you might have a mental breakdown.
Oh my God. Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Well, she was representing the country. She was representing
All Black women.
yes, exactly.
It's
And
a
that, yes,
lot.
that's right, exactly.
All
And
women of
All
color.
women,
and facing
All
criticism,
women.
all
all
women
women.
and moms
I
and
know.
facing criticism every day.
Every day.
Body, her bangs, her arms are too strong, her
She's
hair.
showing her arms. She shouldn't be showing her arms.
Every day, every day.
I mean, and then she's educated woman, highly educated. Is there
Mhm.
another first lady who's been as educated? I mean, and still, she
Joe Biden, she's a
still has
doctor,
these,
but
Mhm.
yeah, like that, like those two, same level, and at her age.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And unique individual. I love that she puts those words, something, you don't have to be like the next person to have a bright light. You're individually enough. We're enough on our own. And that flame protected with all, like I think Tara, you just said, protected with all your might. Because if you don't, no one else is going to. That's that light that we carry.
And they really can't. No one else can do this
No.
work.
They can't. They can't. I think it's a strong message. If you can, remember this quote, you guys, keep this one. When I bought the book at Barnes and Noble, it was actually on the bookmark that came with the book. So
Oh,
this was these are the two really important ones that
oh,
the publishers even brought out with the book, were these two quotes. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
hi, Joanne.
Good to see you. And then that first quote, I'll get that one for Joanne. I think she's taking it. We become bolder in brightness. That's the other one. All right. Okay, so I want to start with
Oh.
dealing with self-doubt. We just heard about read these quotes. We become bolder in brightness, that each of us carries that bit of inner brightness, something entirely unique and individual, a flame that's worth protecting. Let's see what she had to say about self-doubt, because she obviously dealt with it at one point or another. So we're going to go to that video really quick.
Mhm.
Oops. Yep, here it is. And let me share my screen. Okay, here we go.
You, Mrs. Obama, so many women struggle with self-doubt. Do you? And if you do, how do you push past it?
I talk about this all the time, especially with the young girls I meet, because they look at people like us in these positions and they think, well, you must have been born into that place, which is one of the reasons why when I meet with young girls, I don't care where in the world it is, I don't want them to know Michelle Obama, the former first lady. I want them to know Michelle Obama, that girl from the South Side of Chicago. I want to break down that wall of impossibility to let them know that I am them and they are me. And yes, every other moment I feel self-doubt, because when you, and society intentionally does that to women and girls. It starts at a very early age. We question our value, our worth. We question how we look, how we talk, where we're from. There are people with power who want us to stay small. They want us to stay doubtful. And so our cultures reinforce that. So The one thing I want young girls to understand is that those feelings are real. They are not crazy. They are indoctrinated in us all, and we carry them around with us our entire lives. And I don't care how far you go, whether you go to the White House, you are constantly batting away those negative messages of being not enough. And yes, I deal with that too. And I don't want young women, young girls to get ahead of themselves to think that they have to fix it all now. In order to break these cycles of negativity, you got to get up every day and do the work right before you. That means getting your education when the opportunity presents itself, and then focusing on that, doing the work, doing your homework, getting to the next stage in life. Because if you take those small steps over time, you build up a lifetime of another story for yourself. No one can do that for you. You have to look over your life. And we as women sometimes feel like we have to have done everything right before we can take credit for the things that we have done. But there is power in what we do every day. And I have to remind myself of that every single moment. But now that I'm older, I can now look back and say, yeah, I am worthy. I have value. But it's not because I'm sitting here. I had that value when I was 3, when I was 5, when I was 7, when I was 12. And for the young girls out there, you have it now. You just have to take the time to realize it and be patient with yourself as you do it, because the process takes a lifetime.
Takes a lifetime.
All right.
Yeah,
Isn't that beautiful?
yeah.
Love that. Thoughts on that while I try to fix the screen on her
Mhm,
self-doubts. Oops.
mhm.
Vulnerability is so powerful.
Mhm.
Transparency, it's hard. Like I know I get very vulnerable in things that I do, and I do videos too. And people think that vulnerability means, oh no, poor them, poor them. No, not poor them. Yay them. Because they're confident enough to say these mistakes and these things that I've come through don't define me. They
Mhm.
fueled me. I just love that she does this. It's so revolutionary for a role that she's had to she could just close up and be like, got Secret Service for the rest of my life, done. Get to live a private life. I don't have to tell you guys another thing the rest of my life. I
Right.
can be done with you. And she's not done.
She's not. She's still in our lives, and we're so lucky. Beautiful. Others. Thank you, Tara. You're right. She didn't have to do this, and it is so special that she does. I love it too. And it's hard to be vulnerable. It really is, because you judge yourself, but you have to be free to be able to do this type of stuff. You have to be breaking free from that self-doubt. And she says she deals with it every other moment, but she deals with it in a way that she continues on, and she's able to write books like this and do interviews like that really, really impact folks. All right. Anyone else? I don't want to cut off anyone.
No,
I th-
well, I'll say something on a personal level.
Yes.
I tend to always think that I'm not capable, I'm not enough. Just today when Chris and I was talking, and she said something about how nice the breakfast was and all, and I was saying, oh, I just don't like to talk. She said, but you sounded really good at the breakfast.
Wonderful.
And it's like, I did. Although, I wanted to say, yes, I know, because I know I used proper English and all of that stuff, but I just still felt like,
Mhm.
is this enough? Is this enough? Are they going to think, oh, she's not this and she's not that? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, I know for myself, we put ourselves down. We should be lifting us up and admitting what we have accomplished and keep moving forward,
Mhm. And I liked what you said, lifting ourselves up, because not anyone else can do that for us. We have that inner light, and we have to fight for it. Thank
Mhm.
you. And you did do a
Mhm.
wonderful job. I told you that. You did great.
I know. It's that side that I still have to work on.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Thank you, Joanne, for mentioning me, because I'm going to boost you up again.
Uh-oh. You're welcome, I think.
I love getting to know Joanne in a different way, because I'll let you know, my friends, we are members of the Tempe History Society.
Mhm.
I am new to the board and Joanne is not. I'm new to the board and I'm getting to know everyone. I love getting to know Joanne because she is so open, and I love her sense of humor and her laughter and her engaging personality, and she makes me feel good. She makes me feel better. And I just really enjoy being at the meetings. We only meet once a month, but we're getting involved now in events. So
Yeah.
that means we're gathering
Mm-hmm.
and we're engaging and we're seeing each other more. And I'm just teasing her because we're going to be at an event together in a couple of weeks or so. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's great. Yeah, Joanne's awesome. I love her too.
Oh, oh, shucks. You
She's-
guys are just saying that because you want me to keep putting my neck out there and working with the groups.
Okay, she's president of so many, and she's president of that club too. So
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
she's a
I
leader.
think that's because they didn't have anybody else to sucker
No,
into
that's not why.
it.
No, no, not
Nope.
true. True. It's because you're awesome.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Uh,
So the first chapter we're going to get on tonight is partnering well, and we know her wonderful husband Barack Obama. But in this chapter, and then this is the way we'll do it. I'll tell you the quote that stood out to me, and then you tell me what stood out to you in the chapter. So in partnering well, on pages 209 to 210, she wrote, "If you choose to try to make a life with another person, you will live by that choice. You'll find yourself having to choose again and again to remain rather than to run." I think that's really poignant. So if you choose to try to make a life with another person, you will live by that choice. And you'll find yourself having to choose again and again to remain rather than to run. What does that mean to anyone?
Well, I didn't read the last few chapters, to be honest with you. I just kind of glanced over them, but I think that looking back on my years with Charles and I were married for 44 years before he died.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm.
And I was about 21, say 20 and a half, 21 when we got married.
Mhm.
And over the years, you change.
Yeah.
Each of you change, but you have to make the choice of whether you're gonna still stay and work for that choice you made
Mhm.
some years ago. And and in my case, you have a family, or even if it was just you and that person, if you've made that choice, I always wanted to be successful in whatever I was choosing to do.
Yes.
And so you do, I found myself making choices again and again. And sometimes you have to make sure that you're not making choices that's just centered around you
Right.
in order for the choice to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Joanne. My parents were
Mhm.
married over 60 years. So my mom married my dad when she was 16. So
Wow.
my dad passed away, he was 92. My mom was in her late 80s, 87. So they were together a very, very long time.
Mm.
And she has 7 children. And I saw her over and over make those choices. And when we were teens, we would see things about dad. We're like, Mom, why do you let dad say this or do this? And she always made it known to us those were her choices because she loved him and she was going to work to make it work for them. And they loved each other. And I watched their relationship. I was the youngest and I see how it went. And by the end, they were sitting on the couch and snuggling. It's like, oh my God, they went back to 19 or 16 again. Oh, it's just like, can you guys please go in your room? My God, I don't want to sit on this lovey-dovey.
And don't you think some of the choices that she made, she married at 16.
Yeah.
So she had a lot of personal growth to still
Oh,
do
yes.
and still keep the choice that she had made together in spite
Right.
of how she was growing. And he probably was growing the
Yes.
same way. And sometimes they probably felt like this is not the same person I married. Well, it wasn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would hear my dad say that, but toward the end, he's like, "This is the girl I married." He started calling her that girl
Oh,
again. Like, oh my gosh. I think she's so spot on right with this. And she talks about her daughters, how she doesn't want them to rush and go marry someone and get hooked up. I
yeah.
think she called it. Just go and hook up with someone. But to
Mhm.
really go and live life and get to know who they are before they go and make this choice. And she talked about how many women, they feel like, I have to get married. I need to do this. This is like a checklist again for that feeling worthy that we have to do that. So I really like her partnering well chapter. Those are the things that stood out to me. Anyone else? What stood out to you in that chapter?
She
For me-
spoke about her parents.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Chris.
She spoke about her parents, and even though her father, as she saw him age and struggle with his, and I'm going to call it a disability, but he struggled with an illness that he had as a young man, and he struggled with it throughout his lifetime. But she saw him struggle, and she saw her mother help him.
Yeah.
But even more so, she saw her brother helping her deal with their difficulties. And so she depended on her brother to help her understand them, the parents. And so they were all together. She and her brother, I think her brother was very much of an important
Yeah.
brother figure to help her better understand her parents, because even though he didn't play a big part in her story,
No.
but when she talked about her brother, it was as if he was so important to her because she loved him so much. But
Yeah.
he was the one who helped her better understand her parents living together for so long and being together and helping each other. So
Good.
she saw this bond, the parents, her mom and dad, and she and her brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I saw about partnering, everybody partnering together to help the family.
Beautiful. Yes. And she did love and loves her brother so much. I love to see them in interviews. I should have shared one of those. It's really apparent that they think very highly of one another. Thank you. Tara?
I'll just keep it short. One of the things that I like about Michelle Obama is that she's as a person who's never been married, to hear her talk about marriage and not romanticize it and make it seem like it's the pinnacle peak of life, it completes you. It has always brought me comfort and surprise, actually. Like, wait, you're married to him and you still downplay it as like it's not making your life the best thing ever. Like, wait a minute. You have such a calm and calm view about this, and you admit how much work it takes. And it's always brought me comfort and like encouragement.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the age where most people would probably have divorces by now. And I've never been married. So I love the message she sends to women about it being a piece of their life, but not their complete life.
Good. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a real important point that you just made, Tar, that it's a piece of your life, but it's not your whole life. And that might be why sometimes when young girls or women find themselves in the situation of choice,
Yeah.
and something goes a little bit astray, but it's because they've put everything into that, and they didn't have any of themselves. They didn't save any of their own personality for themselves, so that they would be allowed to grow as the commitment was changing maybe a little bit. So that's a good point you make.
Excellent.
I
Excellent
agree
point.
with you. Yep.
We learn so much from one another. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Let's go to the next chapter. Meet her mom, Miss Marian Robinson. I loved seeing her mom at the White House. I just love that lady. This is something her mom used to tell her. She said when they were maybe having a struggle, it's on page 262, she would tell her, get up and clean that bathroom. It'll put your mind on things other than yourself. And I can see how that's so true, that we can get so engrossed with, oh, well, it was me, oh, this or that, but keep your mind busy is really what I got out of it. And that her mom just taught her to just keep moving forward, keep forging forward. And I think that is probably what got her through all those hard times at the White House. She got in the garden. Sometimes there's something about soil and getting in soil. Those of you who are gardeners or like the earth, I'm a walker and I'm upset I can't walk today because of the wind.
Yeah,
I
right.
tried and that's why I'm sneezing and stuff. It was too much for my lungs. Like, let me get myself back in the house. There will be no 3 walks today. Joanne sees me walk. We're in the same neighborhood. She's probably like, that girl is out there walking again. I know. It's my thing. But she got out there and she worked the garden over at the White House. And I sort of saw that connection with, okay, I see. They were getting on your nerves a little bit. You're like, what can I do to be productive? I can't clean these bathrooms at the White House because we have this staff, but I can go in the garden. That's my thing. I couldn't be connecting that, and I'll have to ask her one day, but I think that was a part of it. But it's keeping your mind busy. That's really what I wanted to say from the chapter. You guys, what are your thoughts?
Her mom must have been a very practical woman.
Mm-hmm.
Very practical, but what I mean, independent, but yet practical. A no nonsense kind of woman.
Yep. Yes.
She made it clear she didn't want to live there in the White House.
No, she didn't want to.
And she didn't really have a choice after a while. It was to help her. But I think if she had had a different kind of a life, away from the White House, she would still be the same practical mother telling her daughter, look, you're a married woman, you made your choice, you have a loving relationship, you have a husband, you have children, quit feeling sorry for yourself.
Right.
You know,
right.
So she was very practical, I thought, all the time. And whenever she spoke of her mother, it was her mother giving her advice. It was her mother being the role model for her. It was her mom being the caretaker of the family, which she became.
Yeah.
It was her mother helping her better understand what motherhood meant. It was her mother who helped her husband, therefore Michelle, she helping her husband, even though he was president of the United States, she was still helping. The mother was still there doing these kinds of things, and not just taking care of the girls.
No.
She was more than that.
Yeah. I love what you just said about her mom. On page 276, it said to 277, late in 2016, about a month before a new president was sworn in, my mother happily packed her bags. There was little fanfare, and at her insistence, no farewell party either. She just moved out of the White House and went back to Chicago, to her place on Euclid Avenue, with old bed and old belongings. That she had gotten the job done. She went back to life. She's like, okay, chapter closed. I go back to my house and get myself back going. That's what I thought about when you were saying that. No nonsense.
I was thinking about her mother when all that took place.
Yeah.
And I think that had her mom not been there,
oh yeah,
it would have been a lot more ruckus going on around that White House, with her trying to get her Michelle get herself established there, but 2 young girls at the ages that they were, and the transition went so well.
Right. Smart move. Yeah, mom.
And that was a smart move. And then mom knew when she'd done her job and it was time for her to move out of the picture.
Right. I loved seeing her there with them. It just brought comfort to me, because the mom in the Black family is very important. Love my mom. I mean, my mom is just always, I don't think a day goes by when I don't say to myself, God, I miss mama. I miss mama. To see her mom there with her, I'm like, all right, girl, I understand that I would want my mom there too, in this big, scary White House. with my
Yes.
husband, and people don't want us here, and we hear all these scary things about assassinations and Secret Service. I want my mom there for that comfort. So I love seeing her with her mom in interviews. She just calls her, look at you, you come here, you little, you know how Michelle is kind of, and it's just so cute, the banter they do. They really love one another. And her mom, just as Chris hit her on the head, she's no nonsense, just okay, you know, and just a sweet, sweet, sweet mother. So I love that she let us meet her mom, Miss Robinson, Marion Robinson. A sweet chapter, really like that one. The whole of us was the next chapter that we have. And my favorite quote in there is on 310. She says, when we share our stories with fullness and honesty, we often discover that we're less alone and more connected than we might ever have believed. What do you guys think about that quote or this chapter in general? The whole of us. Sharing our stories when we're full and honest and really share, which is what she does. She's transparent. We often discover that we're less alone and more connected when we might have ever believed.
When she said it in that interview, when she was speaking about the girls that she meets, the young girls, she more or less said that just because I'm a first lady in the White House doesn't mean I'm any different than you. And she said, you are me and I am you.
Right.
I think sometimes when we hear ourselves saying that to someone, another young woman, for example, does that young woman understand what that means? I am you and you are me. I don't know. But that's simple. That's a simple thought, because I say that to my sisters as well as to young women that I meet who are, you know, oh, look at you, you did this, you did that, blah, blah. I said, look, I am not any different than you are. I'm just older.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's being vulnerable to be honest and full and to tell our truths. And we are them and they are us. But again, goes back to that first quote. You have to be able to take that chance, that inner brightness, that flame, and letting that come out there. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? When I was a school principal, I was the first Black woman principal many of my little girls had, and they loved me. Anytime I come to the classroom, they'd run up to me and they would just call me the first lady. This was actually when Michelle Obama was still in office, and which made my day. They're like, you remind me of Michelle Obama, the first lady. And I was like, oh, come to my office at lunchtime and we'll talk more. But I would tell them my stories and where I went to school and how I grew up, and they just couldn't believe it. Really? Yeah. And I did this and I went here and I wasn't good at this. And it really helped them feel connected and know that they could aspire to it and they could do it. And it was all students of color, all little girls of color. My Latina students loved me because they saw my brown principal. I could do that too. And the families is just so, so important. So when we're whole, we're not alone. Think about that. You can't be whole and be alone. We're meant to be with others. That makes us complete. That makes us whole. That doesn't mean it has to be a husband or a wife, but we're whole when we're full and honest with others that we encounter. Those friends, like when we're telling Joanne today, we just had a perfect example of that. Chris and I both were being honest with you and full with you of how you help us feel better. That helps us feel connected. When I'm somewhere and I know Joanne's going to be in the room, maybe I'm a little nervous, then I know I can look over and see her. It gives me a sense of peace and you're less alone. And that's because, as we were saying, you're very honest, you're upfront, and you say what you feel, which I love. So I think it's about what she's saying is that when we share and are honest and really look at our downfalls and admit those, you'll see that so many other people can relate and they can help you feel better. It's when you go around and, oh, I'm perfect. Oh, I can't reveal that I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do that. That isolates you. And then you're not connected to anyone but your own brain and your own negative self-talk. So I got a lot out of that one little quote that I'm going to keep thinking about, like, how can I improve on that? How can I be more transparent? That's the big word we like in our day, right? Society, transparency. But I think it's more than just being transparent. I think it's just being who you are, being real. And I think that Michelle Obama is one of the most real people that I have ever seen that's a celebrity.
Or
I
as a
think
first,
when we,
or as a first lady in certain ways. I remember seeing her dance, the latest dance steps, or and not with her husband so much, but just in an
Just
event,
being
just by
her.
herself, doing the moves
Yeah.
and not being afraid of what anybody was thinking. She was just moving with the music and
Yeah.
dancing and just being herself and
Yes.
loving that, whether it's reggae, whether she was with a rock and roll artist, or whether she was doing rap or whatever, she was moving.
She
Just
was. That's
and that was so natural to her. And she was just dressed like we would be dressed, Levi's or blouses that were not, in other words, she was not your prim and proper first lady.
no, she was more than that. She was better than that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I had young teachers at my campus, and when she was on Ellen, I guess she was not in the grocery store. Do you guys remember the one where they went to the drugstore?
Oh, yeah.
And Ellen was acting silly and Michelle was there, and they would tell me, oh my God, I love our first lady. And they were telling me about what she was doing at the store with Ellen. I was like, wow, her being really real, connected this generation. They really love that. And they would love telling me about it because they knew I liked her. Oh, you have to watch it. They would show me on their phone and we'd have a kick out of it. I'm like, oh my goodness. That was so funny. Joanne, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
no, but I will say that I think that when we share with one another and we get to know the person a little better, it can help us to realize that, hey, I'm not the only one with those thoughts, or
Yeah.
I'm not down here as low as where I thought it was, this is okay. So it's good to share with someone, and you're not going to just share with a person the minute you meet them. And
No.
hopefully you've been very specific about the person that you were choosing. You want to choose someone that you can be safe with, feel safe with, or you can talk to, and they can understand you and you can understand them. And so all of this helps us to understand that Michelle Obama, even with her titles and her degrees and all, she was still just a person like you and I.
That's right. That girl from the South Side, she said, South
The
Side.
girl from the South Side. And because she was like that, she got through those 4 years, and people, they didn't have anything bad they could say about her
No.
because of the way she carried herself.
Yes. Beautiful.
So it tells us a lot about how we should act.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And you brought up another key point as to why she even wrote the book. It's overcoming in uncertain times. A way to do that is to find those connections with people who are feeling the same way you are, or having the same thoughts or the same struggles. That's why you want to be honest and fully
And I think when
honest.
you find other people that are going through the same thing, then you think, oh, I'm not the only one.
I'm not the only one.
And that can help bring your self-esteem back up.
Right.
If you're feeling down here like, oh, this is happening to me, why is that? And I'm this and that, and it's not true. And then you see that there are other people going through some of the same things, then you can feel better about yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how we're all connected. The whole of us. Beautiful, beautiful.
The whole of us.
I love that chapter. All right. What about the armor we wear? That's that next chapter that she has. So this was the quote I really like on 323. She says, from an early age, I like the feeling of achievement, of powering through challenges and pep talking myself through fear. I'm thinking of Peeps. It's almost Easter. Sorry. I'm gonna start doing that over again. From an early age, I learned the feeling of achievement, empowering through challenges, and pep talking myself through fear. Anybody pep talk themselves through fear? Tara's an expert on this one. I'm gonna just be quiet and turn it over to the master.
Master. I love that she admits that she even has fear. I love that she admits that she felt so isolated and just discombobulated during the pandemic. And I think that everything she's telling us about her childhood is an indicator of how she was able to get through the years in the White House and able to still deliver this book to us with gladness. I pep talk myself all the time. And I'm trying to teach my daughter how to pep talk herself. And my greatest joy is when I hear her say, I don't want to, but I have to, like about brushing her teeth.
Mhm.
Or we co-sleep. So I'm a single parent. We co-sleep. So the other night, through fear, I said, someday you're going to be sleeping in your own bed. Every day, every night since then, she says, Mommy, just want to let you know I was a little afraid when you told me that someday we're not going to be sleeping in the same bed. I said, I know it's a little bit of a scary thought. It's okay to be afraid. We're not there yet. We don't need to work on that plan yet. You let me know when you want to talk about it again. We don't need to do that quite yet.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Just easing her, walking her through that fear. And
mhm.
isn't that what we do with ourselves? We pep talk ourselves just like we would give a pep talk to a 4-year-old. Isn't that what we have to do to ourselves? Be gentle and kind and guide ourselves through this fear. You can do this. This is a hard day, but you got this. This is
Yeah.
a hard week. This is a hard season. You're grieving, but you've got this. Whatever it is.
Mhm.
That's what I remind myself. The way that I talk to my daughter, the gentle tone I try to use with her to pep talk her is the way I want her to speak to herself. And it's the way that I want to speak to myself so that
Mhm.
we can continue to not be intimidated by rejections and fear and trauma and tragedy.
Right.
And I love that she beautifully explains it. And even the fact that she says that she does it for herself and she talks about how she tries to do it for her girls, but she talked about you can't take fear away from, you can't take trials and tribulations away from people,
Yeah.
but learning how to pep talk your way through it is a gift and a skill
It
that we can shift towards that instead of saying, let's erase all fear, let's erase all pain, let's take it all away from our kids, let's ignore that it's happening in our own lives. No, she's not about any of that. It's deal
No.
with it,
Deal with it.
face it.
Mhm.
And I love that vulnerability that she shows with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tara is the one I call when I need to remember I need to pep talk myself. She'll tell you, and she'll tell me, talk to yourself, remember this. And she calms my nervous system down. It's like, okay, I can do it.
And Tara, I think that's great. You have that talent and ability. And when your daughter comes to you and you talk to her like that, and if you were to just rush at her in a different manner, she's already stressed maybe about something, but the way you approach it, I think that's beautiful. And
Thank
it helps her to think it through, but she's
Mhm,
doing it in a calm manner.
Yes.
mhm.
Tara's good at this, not just with her daughter, but with other family members. She's really, really good. I love when she shares with me that certain persons were having these things. I'm thinking of nephew.
Oh,
And
yes.
how she's able to, if she wants to talk about it, I won't share her
Yeah,
thing, but
I can.
go ahead.
My nephew is a good example. He's 13. And just to give an example, he's lived his life where he's tried to please the family with his actions, and it's through sports. And as a male, there's some pressure that comes with that, because performance and approval through making everybody happy because you're going and you're doing these sports and they can come and cheer you on and you excel over everyone else. But there's certain feelings he was having about not playing a certain sport. And he was afraid to tell anybody what he truly felt. So he's just going through the motions. Well, he made a decision to not do something or not play for a sports team for his school. And that meant he had to backtrack on a decision he'd made. And he had to say no when he previously said yes. And it was super scary for him because he thought all these people would be disappointed in him, his classmates, the coach of the team, the whole school, because he's very good.
Mhm.
But he said no after he said yes. And my brother was very upset. And I could tell my brother was living through the moments where he, as a kid, stopped doing something and felt like he needed to fix that for his child.
Mhm.
He had to make sure his child didn't do what he did. And so I had to talk to my brother, and had to talk to my nephew at the same time. And I told my nephew, because I was subbing at his school the day that it happened, just worked out that day. So I took him home from school, and this is what I told him about that fear. I said, I'm proud of you. I think you're going to learn that some of the decisions that you make are going to disappoint people. And you're going to be fearful that they might not love you as much, and they might be so disappointed that they're angry with you. But I'm going to need you not to betray yourself. Now, if you told everybody you weren't interested from the beginning in doing this, it would be easier. But you said it now, and I'm still proud of you because you stood up for yourself. You
Right.
said yes, but you have changed your mind, and you have every right to do that. It's a no now, and it's okay for you to say that, and you don't have to apologize for changing your mind, buddy.
Yep.
And so I told my brother the same thing. When you see him tonight, please, brother, celebrate with him. And think about what you would have wanted to hear when you made a decision to stop doing something and you were afraid that people wouldn't love you anymore, that they wouldn't hold you in high regard. And I think it was hard for my brother to accept that, but I think he did. But the most important thing for me was to reassure my nephew that in that moment when you're afraid to disappoint people, you got to be also concerned about betraying yourself. Stop betraying what you truly feel like doing, and stop being afraid to say what you feel for
Mhm.
fear of being judged and not loved anymore.
Right.
He had tears in his eyes when we were driving home, but as a 13-year-old, he's not going to admit that. But I was just like, buddy,
Right.
life can be tough, but you don't have to do what people need you to do to please them with this sport. Be different if you wanted to quit school. Be different if you blah, blah. I tried to make more different kind of examples. That's not this. This is baseball. This is not him saying, I'm going to drop out of school at 14.
Right. Right.
And it's his decision and his body. He needs to make that decision. So it was very full of fear. I talked to him. I talked to my brother, and tried my best to be a voice to give them calmness in this area. So I know my brother was ready to go crazy because it's fear of my son is disappointed in the school. He's disappointed in the principal. He's disappointed in his team, and they're like out of control.
And a lot of parents put that pressure on their kids. You're not going to say no.
I know I went on a bit there, but I'll just say that
No.
I tried to pep talk them both in a way, so they can remind them of the voice that they should have for themselves to walk themselves through this, especially my nephew. He's 13. I want him to get it. I want him to get it now as a brown boy. Like, you don't have to live up to anyone's expectations for what you do with your life in sports, and just do your best, be who you are. Maybe you need to start playing piano now. Maybe you need to focus on soccer now. I said, just open up your life. Live your life, buddy, and stop trying to please everybody else. We love you.
And with you telling him that and him making that decision, now he can truly find himself and who he really is, and not be trying to please everybody else and stressed out all the time. That's good he had you there to talk to him.
She's the master at it, seriously. And that's when I saw this quote, I thought of her, and I was like, I want her to talk, because powering through challenges and pep talking yourself. This is what Michelle Obama does masterfully. You can watch her interviews where she talks about how she does this positive action. This is armor. This truly does arm you up to face your demons, your fears, super great. Reread that chapter. When you feel fearful, reread that chapter, because it's
What chapter is that?
The Armor We Wear. That's the name of it. It is
Because I think my book is different than yours.
chapter 9. Yeah, I have the big, remember, I got the large print. I got the large
Okay.
chapter.
Armor We Wear. Yeah, it's on page 245, and your quote's
Oh,
on
my
page
book is way bigger because I
323.
got the big letters. I'm trying to
Okay,
save my eyes. Okay. I read a lot, so I have to save that small print.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You know what, Michelle Obama, as a young girl, experienced something that was so fearful for her, that she was so afraid of what was going to happen to her because she was so tall. She was by the time she was, I think she said she was 14, maybe, she was already 5'9". And the pictures that she has in her book of her being with her classmates, she's the tall one. She said, you can always tell that it's me because I'm the tall one. I'm in the middle, or I'm in the back, or I'm somewhere, but I'm the one who kind of like sticks up because I'm the tall one.
Yeah,
And she was only 13 and she was already 5'9", and all of the other girls were yet to catch up to her in a sense, but she had to overcome being tall.
right.
That was the thing that she dealt with as
Yeah.
a young girl early, that her mother helped her deal with. But at the same time, she used it in sports because she wanted to be a gymnast. She wanted to be like Nadia Comaneci. She wanted to be a gymnast and do all of these kinds of things that young girls were winning Olympic medals for. But these young girls were small. They
Right.
were not tall, or they were not 5'9". And she could not do what Nadia Comaneci did.
Right.
So she had to give up gymnastics, but then she went into ballet and she did very well because the tallness and the strength of being a tall young girl lent itself better to ballet and dancing than being a gymnast and doing barbell things.
I love her cute little pictures as a ballerina. I think they're so
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent,
So,
excellent.
so being 5'9", which I'll never be, obviously, but I mean, being 5'9" and having to deal with being 5'9", and all your friends are like little,
Little
short.
I'm a shorty too. Absolutely. Excellent. All right. Well, we cannot talk about Michelle Obama without going high, right? That's her
Yeah.
famous quote. So we're gonna watch that video
Right, that's right.
really quick. Let me get that one set up because when I went to see her, she was here in Arizona. I saw her twice, but loved hearing her say this. All right, you guys can see it.
Told you. I also told you about our daughters, how they are the heart of our hearts, the center of our world. And during our time in the White House, we've had the joy of watching them grow from bubbly little girls into poised young women. A journey that started soon after we arrived in Washington, when they set off for their first day at their new school. I will never forget that winter morning as I watched our girls, just 7 and 10 years old, pile into those black SUVs with all those big men with guns.
Mhm, mhm.
And I saw their little faces pressed up against the window. And the only thing I could think was, what have we done? See, because at that moment, I realized that our time in the White House would form the foundation for who they would become. And how well we managed this experience could truly make or break them. That is what Barack and I think about every day as we try to guide and protect our girls through the challenges of this unusual life in the spotlight. How we urge them to ignore those who question their father's citizenship or faith. How we insist that the hateful language they hear from public figures on TV does not represent the true spirit of this country. How we explain that when someone is cruel or acts like a bully, you don't stoop to their level. No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
Yay,
All right, when they go low, we go high. So you
right, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Can't talk about Michelle Obama without that. And that's her last chapter. Let's get back to
Mhm,
PowerPoint.
mhm.
All right, going high. She said, quote, "Going high is a commitment and not a particularly glamorous one. To keep moving forward, it only works when we do the work."
Mhm.
So we saw her in the beautiful video clip, and this is her quote. What does that mean to you? That going high, it's a commitment. It's not a glamorous one, because you got to keep going forward, and it only works when we do the work.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think some misinterpreted her staying go high and didn't realize that go high doesn't mean just ignore something that's not right going on. Say, I'm just not gonna dignify that with a response. We're just gonna go high. That's not what she meant. But she
No,
then said, she made reference to how many people didn't go out and vote. Like, go high doesn't mean don't go vote. Doesn't mean sit home when we vote. Doesn't mean don't exercise your right to vote, or your right to be a part of the fight against injustice, or your right to do the work to educate people in your own circle, or do whatever, have whatever impact you could have within your own circle. That's going high.
right.
Not just sitting back and saying, I'm not going to even talk about it. Let's not even talk about it. Forget them.
No,
Forget that person who's again has an opposing view. So I appreciate that she adds that perspective, because people think it's just the biblical turn your other cheek. Well, I don't even think that in the Bible it means turn your other cheek doesn't mean be silent. It just means that you don't respond the way the person is responding to you. You don't respond to hate with the hate. You can surely respond with something brighter to extinguish it, though. But
Mhm.
like she was saying, some people didn't even go out and vote. She certainly didn't mean that's the way you go high.
Right. Good points. Thank you, Tara. I love that. It doesn't mean just turning a blind eye. That's not going high. It's commitment. And it's not easy. It's not glamorous. Like, it's pushback, right? It can be pushback, but it's worth it. It's again, knowing yourself. That's what we started with. Knowing what that light is, knowing who you are. What do you really stand for? And then you can only go high at that point. Being fully honest and fully, truly knowing who you are and what you believe. I don't think you can go high if not. Others, what are your thinkings on that? Because she's coined this. They go low, we go high. That's what she's known for. And I like that she is clarifying it in this chapter. I think she really wanted people to get to the point. This is what I mean by that. You got to do the work though, to go high.
Sometimes going high is not easy. You might feel lonely
Yeah.
all by yourself, but you have your standard and you need to stick to that standard.
Yeah.
And so some people think that you're trying to act uppity or whatever,
Mhm.
but if you set a certain standard
Mhm.
and you don't drop back down just to please them, because it's not going to work, first of all, because with Michelle and her children and all, they already had the standard established, and so if you start backing down because people are saying, oh, she's this and she's that, then that's not going to work.
That's right. That's right. Wonderful. I really like this thought. I want you guys to all think about going high and try to, in the next month, take a stand on something and go high when someone else is going low. I know I can practice it nearly on a day-to-day basis.
When I was raising my son, he had some friends that I didn't quite like. And I remember having a conversation with him one morning before school. He was still laying in the bed. And I said something to the effect that if you run with fleas, you're going to become just like a dog that's full of the fleas. I said you have to pick your standards and set them and stay at that level, or you'll become just like the rest of them down in the pit. And
That's
so I hadn't really thought about that until we were talking about it right now, like what Michelle has said, because when she first said that, I remember that the well, some of the newscasters and all, it seemed like they were trying to make something out of it more than what she said and meant when she said that. If you remember, it was almost like they were making fun of belittling her for saying that.
I remember that. I remember that. And I think that's why she's correcting the record in her book of what she really meant by that.
Right.
I think it's really important, really important.
What
Well,
she did say, we have a motto,
yeah,
which meant our family has this motto. She said, we have a motto. It
That's
isn't
right.
something, it isn't something she just thought of and made up.
no,
That's right.
It's always been
instilled in
there.
her,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Her family,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
mhm.
That's how they operate.
Yeah, and I think we, as women, as daughters, as parents, whatever, growing up in our families, we have mottos as well.
That's right.
Or don't let anybody push you around.
Mm-hmm,
Or
Mhm.
when you see something that's unjust, speak up.
right.
When somebody needs help, go help them. Little mottos,
Mhm.
little sayings, little
That's true.
things that your parents
Mm-hmm,
tell you, or your moms really, who teach you these things. Ayuda a la gente, my mom would say. Ayuda a la gente.
You're
Help the people.
people. Mm-hmm,
And these little things stay with you. So with her saying this was a motto, I think she was saying this was I grew up with this. I grew up
yeah,
with this.
right.
So we all have little sayings
Mm-hmm,
that we've grown up with, that we've learned, or that remember, or that come to us, or that we do in our behaviors
Mhm.
without having to declare this as a motto. Or we just do it.
we just
do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know, her motto here with those girls, you never heard, I didn't hear not one bad thing that they got involved in school and all.
No,
It was almost like they went through the White House and we hardly knew they were there, except when we saw them in a picture with
right. Well,
Michelle and them.
they had
So,
mama and grandma there. They knew better.
right. And so when you said, you know, she said, I, uh, I think it included all of them. And you're right. She was talking about them.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yes. Right.
Beautiful. And this is a beautiful book. And I want everyone, just one thing that stands out from you from this beautiful book that you will take with you. Because I don't want it to just get on the shelf and be dusty, but just one thing. And I'll remind you the chapters. There was The Power of Small, Decoding Fear, Starting Kind, Am I Seen, My Kitchen Table, Partnering Well, Meet My Mom, The Whole of Us, The Armor We Wear, and Going High. What stands out for you from this book? Any one thing that you'll remember and take with you to continue to light your torch?
I think for me, she is a good example of never give up on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Never give up on you. I like that.
I have one, I wrote down a quote. It matters when we feel safe enough to show ourselves without shame and find ways to speak openly of the experiences that made us the people we are.
Mm,
I love that goes back to her not being afraid to speak and share and connect. I carry that with me. It's confirming for me.
perfect. Joanne, how about you? Thank you.
since I didn't read the last chapters yet, I don't think I want to pick out a specific one, but if I were to say something right now, it's probably the one we just finished talking about, going high instead of going low.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I love it.
And I also liked reading about her life when they were in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about some of the things that I had heard or was told or held to when I was growing up down there in that little black town in Mississippi.
Yeah. Yes.
And I thought, and she took it all the way to the White House.
Yes. She sure did.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. Exactly.
For me,
And she always said, the house that I lived in that the slaves built.
Yes.
She reminded us, I may be living in the White House,
Mhm.
but
yeah.
but it was a house built by slaves.
That's
li-
a
I
real
like-
good point.
I like the way she made that
Good-
point,
good
and it wasn't to, it wasn't a racist comment. No, it was just something that was factual, that she
Yeah.
learned it. She didn't know that, but she learned
mhm,
it. And so therefore she
mhm.
was just clarifying the house that she lives in.
Right.
Right,
Was
that
just a
it was,
house. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Mhm.
Mine came from Partnering Well, and in my big book, it's on page 212. She said, I learned early on that a partner is not a fix for your issues or a filler of your needs. People are who they are. You can't make someone become something they don't want to be, or into a type of person that have never been modeled for them.
Mhm.
And those who know me well know why I picked that one. That's big for me, because I was a girl that grew up reading all those romance novels. Me and Tara both were going to the library and just picking and reading them. And I just thought that was just so it. And my mom and dad, they got married, they were childhood sweethearts and blah, blah, blah. But that was really important for me to read that from her. And Tara kind of hit on it, that having that husband that doesn't validate you as a part of your life, but it doesn't fix you or make you a whole person. So I was so happy to have read that. And I will continue to reread that chapter because I get a lot out of that one. Partnering Well, very important to me. Beautiful book, you guys. I loved our discussion. I love that book. I love that book.
Well, thank you for selecting that book.
That was a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you.
The next one, we have not done Toni Morrison. We have not read the Toni
Oh,
Morrison book. And I'm
wow.
like, shame on me. So we're gonna read the Song of Solomon, the 29th at 5:00. Brianna, I hope I gave you that right date. Brianna's
Yep, absolutely. That's what I got.
okay.
Perfect.
So our next book is A Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, an amazing author. I remember reading her in college and just loving her. We did Maya Angelou. We have not read Toni Morrison, so she is our next one. And it's a spectacular book. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book. So that'll be our next meeting on the 29th.
Good. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
good.
thank you so much.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, thank you guys so much. I enjoyed this book so much. Thanks for sharing it with me. And I'll see you guys in March.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good night,
Right.
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Tara.